Welcome to Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3. My name is Tug Cowart, along with Daniel Matalon. He is the CEO and president of a Second Chance Bail Bonds and a Second Chance Monitoring. Buddy, what you been up to? Running them roads? I know what the answer is. I know what the answer is already.
Yeah.
And you told me you had a horse for sale. Man, you got so much going on.
Going back to Michigan tomorrow.
Goodness gracious. Yeah. I don't know how you keep up with it. I got one that's a college baseball player, and I thought that was a task. What you're doing with equestrian is mine. I've never seen it.
I'm just like a dot on the map. That's the thing. I mean, the whole industry as a whole. It's wild, man. The equestrian world's crazy.
It makes every other parent, soccer mom, soccer dad, baseball mom, baseball dad, football, basketball, it makes all of them they all pale in comparison to
I had no idea
doing.
What I was getting myself into, and then
it's too late. And then it's too late. You've already signed up.
Dude, I'm so far down the river, I can't even get back up.
You got a scholarship athlete on your hands. You are you're in for the long haul, as if you've not already been for the long haul, but the haul gets even longer. Our guest today from the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation is Ken Ashley. Ken, what's up, man? How are you?
Good to meet you, Tug.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you too. Appreciate what you do, man, first of all, because I know how important the foundation is to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, and just supporting the folks who are out there working so hard to make Fulton County the best that it possibly can be. And I know you get to see it up close, but not a lot of people do. You get to see the officers in their best moments and some of their toughest moments.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, I want to start by thanking the sheriff, his leadership team, and all the sworn deputies and all the employees of the office that work so hard. The constitutional mandate that they have is very serious. It's very important. And it's really hard work. So I appreciate everything they do and the risks that they take. And you're right. I see both sides of it.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of that stuff. But before we do, as an advisor and an advocate for companies who lease or own real estate, you've worked almost 30 years in business leadership, translating business strategy into real estate solutions that helps not only cut costs but boost profits as well. I got to tell you, man, anytime I hear cut cost, boost profit, I automatically see the room light up. Everybody seems to have a smile when that's the equation.
Well, it's been a great career. I started with long black hair, if you must know.
Were you in a rock and roll band too?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. There we go. Come on, dude.
So the real estate in any company is probably their second biggest cost after labor. And so we get involved and help people figure out how to select a high performance real estate location that people will really use and drive profits, and yes, try to cut costs.
Yeah, and a top 100 producer at C&W. Tell me about C&W.
So Cushman & Wakefield is 100 years old. It's a publicly traded commercial real estate services company, one of the largest in the world, and I'm happy to sit here in Atlanta. I've been with Cushman my entire career.
So you also serve on, with working with the commercial real estate company, serve on the board of the Atlanta area Boy Scouts, Atlanta Police Crime Stoppers, vice president of Spirit Atlanta Drum and Bugle Corps. Tell me about that. I got to tell you, that's not that doesn't pop up all the time on my.
So Spirit of Atlanta is a great youth serving organization. It's 50 years old next year, and when the soldiers came back from World War II, they formed drum and fife corps to help the kids be good. And today that's morphed into the modern drum corps scene. There are 165 youth in every corps. There are about 40 of these organizations in America. And right now, they're traveling around all summer long. They will compete. So it's a halftime show without a football game, 11-minute show. These young people will consume between 6,000 and 9,000 calories a day.
Good heavens.
They're working hard.
What?
6,000 to 9,000 calories.
Why is that? Help me understand why.
Well, I call them musical athletes. So they're out there holding a horn or holding a flag or a percussion instrument and rehearsing in the sun all day long, and then they will perform like the Corps will perform tonight in South Carolina and tomorrow. I know we're recording this show, but it'll be in Noonan, Georgia. Mm-hmm. It will be their two performances.
Wow. And how many hours do you practice to get prepared for that 11-minute performance?
Yeah, they'll start in the fall with camps, and then they have what's called all days. That's I think 3 weeks, every day, all day rehearsing to get ready for the show.
That's worse than two-a-days. If the football players are trying to brag about how much work they put in, you better step back and take a look at what the band's doing. Holy cow, for all day. Not two-a-days, all days.
Day.
There ain't no break. 2 days is break in the middle, at least. Goodness gracious. Let's talk about being the chairman of the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation and Invest Atlanta Foundation. We'll go out of order there. Invest Atlanta Foundation.
Yeah, so Invest Atlanta Foundation is a foundation that's working to invest in underserved communities, both in terms of housing, but really empowering entrepreneurs. We have some programs where entrepreneurs, which I'm really convicted about, can start businesses or operate businesses, and in some cases the loans are forgivable if you perform. So, the way to help people is to teach a man to fish.
That's right.
And
instead of giving him a fish, you teach him to fish.
Right.
The old saying. Is that a proverb, maybe?
It is a proverb. Yeah.
Then to the chairmanship of the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation. You're already a busy guy. What made you decide, hey, let me add this to the list of things I'm doing as well? Because I don't know how you get, first of all, what you do for work. I know what my work day's like. Mm-hmm. Being able to extend that by, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 different foundations. I mean, that's a big ask of yourself.
Well, I'm first of all, I've lived here in Atlanta all my life, and I really love our community. I love everything about it, and giving back through community service is actually really fun. I really enjoy it. I love to see the outcomes of the time that we spend together. The way the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation came to be started at Camp Twin Lakes, which is a camp east of here in Rutledge, Georgia.
Well familiar, Camp Twin Lakes. We've raised a lot of money over the years for those guys here at the radio station.
Fabulous what they do. So a guy named Pat Labatt and I were sitting on bunk beds at Camp Twin Lakes because we were going to Leadership Atlanta, and the opening weekend happened to be in September of October of that year. And we were talking about what he wanted to do. He was currently, at that time, the head of the Atlanta City Jail as a chief. And he said, one day I want to be sheriff. And I said, well, I would love for you to be sheriff. So he started his campaign, and one thing led to another, and he got elected sheriff. And then on that election night, that great night, I went and shook his hand, and I said, I think we need to do something for the community. And if we could base it on what the good folks at the Atlanta Police Foundation have done, which serves Atlanta, but serve the rest of Fulton County as well, I think it'd be great. And he said, let's do it.
And y'all have a great relationship with the Atlanta Police Foundation. That's something that you've brought up. How did the relationship come about, and why is the relationship so good between city and county? Because I don't know that it's always that way.
Well, it is on the foundation level. Dave Wilkinson has been the CEO of the foundation for many years, and currently chaired by John O'Neill. And they really are the gold standard of foundations in the United States. And I really admire and respect what they have accomplished. And so Dave was very helpful and very supportive when we were in Nation Foundation and getting us started. And it makes sense. Atlanta is a big town, but a small community. And help each other out, is the thing we ought to be doing. Yeah,
sure enough. Daniel Matalon, CEO and president of a Second Chance Bail Bonds and a Second Chance Monitoring. What's been your experience working with the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation? Well,
we work with what they're specifically doing on the Sheriff's Foundation side, but then also the Sheriff's Office. So any program from the back to school to the holidays, anything that they're doing with Shop with the Sheriff, we do a lot of that stuff. Anything that they have going on, we're in constant contact with community engagement and locking in with them. So
and we thank you for your support.
Oh no, we welcome the opportunity. We appreciate it. You guys giving us a chance to help out. So
well, talk about this, Ken, a little bit, because Fulton County is a big county, like Atlanta City. I mean, it's as you said, it's kind of a small town, really, but Metro Atlanta's not, and Fulton County specifically is not. So you're working from one end of Fulton to the other with the sheriff's office and the foundation.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of jurisdictions, there are a lot of municipalities, and so, sheriffs and the community team do a good job of coordinating to support the entire county. And in terms of our foundation, just to make our mission clear, we really do two things. One is to support the sworn deputies And then the second is to support young people. And I'm very convicted, I was telling you in our pre-talk, about making sure young people, their first experience, second and third experience with law enforcement is positive. So when you talk about Shop with the Sheriff, what that is in December of every year, our good friends at Target and others support Shop with the Sheriff.
Like a second chance?
Like Second Chance. Yep. And so a young person from an underserved community can sign up, his or her parents can sign them up, and you get a $200 gift certificate, and a deputy will take you and your parents through the store, and you can shop with a deputy. I love that they're there, that they're dancing, they're having a good time, there's music. And it's the same with back to school. Back to school, you get a backpack. I say you get a full backpack, you get supplies, you get a full belly and a full soul, because we're all out there having a good time. The sheriff brings all his gear, and you can see law enforcement, and you can see that they're real people, they're real humans trying to serve the community.
When we come back on Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3, talk about how the foundation came to be to begin with. You went over the mission, but I'd like to dive deeper into that, just because you have so many municipalities that are part of Fulton County. Maybe go through some of those and let people listening know, some of the people that you actually work with. It may be people that they live in the same community with, that they've never even considered, they never even thought about it. And then how to be a part, how to lift the folks at the Fulton County Sheriff's Office through the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation. Next on Extra 106.3. Welcome back to Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3. My name is Tug Cowart, along with Daniel Matalon, CEO and president of A Second Chance Bail Bonds and A Second Chance Monitoring. And I know a big supporter of the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation. Ken Ashley is the chairman, and he is here to talk about some of the things that y'all have been able to do. The mission of the foundation, because you brushed across that a little bit. We talked about it a little bit, but the mission of the foundation is to help those who are basically serving our community every day, putting themselves in a potentially dangerous situation every day of their life. And when they run up on something, y'all are there to be the safety net a little bit.
Yeah, and also to recognize, great performance. So I was honored in December, and then also again last month, to come to the command staff meeting and present awards of commendation to deputies who've done amazing things. I mean, these deputies have been shot, they've been stabbed.
Goodness.
I mean, just incredible what they're doing, and they're saving lives and they're making a difference. And so it's terrific to be able to recognize that. Occasionally someone will have a calamity in life, and we're able to help them get through that financially if that is needed.
That could be a medical issue. Could it be a financial issue, housing? I mean, what are some of the issues you've walked officers through? Well,
an example of that could be, unfortunately, if someone's in the house, there's a structure fire or a break-in or something, and you think about that from the perspective of the foundation. We want the men and women of law enforcement to show up and to be ready to do their job. We want them to be there and whole. And obviously, if you've had something happen in your life, then that can be incredibly distracting. We can't fix all problems, but we do what we can to help.
What about the mental preparation?
Yeah.
Because that seems like it would be something, and Daniel, we've talked about it 1,000 times. When you go to work and you've got something on your mind, like your house burned down, or you've been shot and you're not going to be able to work for a little while. I mean, these are scary situations, and I know you see them up close.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. And Ken, that's another thing. Just being mentally prepared.
Yeah.
That seems like the safety net that our police officers, our sheriff's officers, they need. We've seen it a million times. We've seen this discussed so many times. As a Navy veteran, I appreciate the fact that there's so many foundations out there, like the Warrior Alliance, which has an office here in the building that we're broadcasting from at Dickey Broadcasting here at the Battery Atlanta. They talk about mental health a lot for guys that have been in, gals that have been in war zones, that have seen the worst of the worst. But oftentimes, frequently, people leave out our first responders, EMS, firefighters, and definitely police officers.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And when we're close to approving a program to help and to fund a program to help deputies with improving mental health, it starts with a baseline survey, and then we go from there. And, one of the purposes, I can explain the Less Crimes Act, but one of the authorized, with the state authorized legislators, is we can spend money to help with mental health of law enforcement officers. And of course that's important. I mean, we want men and women to show up and to be able to do their job and to feel good doing it.
I know it's tough for people to say, I need help.
Yeah.
I've seen it with people that I served with in the Navy. I would imagine there's plenty of people that are in law enforcement that want to do good work, that want to do the best that they possibly can, but they're up against something that they don't even understand. How do you get people to raise their hand? How do you get people to say, I need help? I can't be the best me to serve my community if I'm not the best me as a whole person.
Right. Well, it's such a good point, and I think it's up to Sheriff Labatt and the command staff to permission in someone to raise their hand, because we come, the law enforcement military is a very aggressive, go kind of culture, so we have to let people know. But I'll tell you, when you are whether you're a jailer and inside the jail, or whether you're a deputy who's patrolling, unfortunately, that's just part of the job. You see the worst of humanity. And so we owe it to those men and women to help counterbalance, to let them know that life is okay.
Have you seen that being implemented with Sheriff Labatt? Has he said, and has he supported that? I mean, I assume the answer is yes.
Of course.
But in what ways? What is it that you've seen that he's done that's facilitated an officer saying, y'all, I've seen the worst, and it's bothering me.
Yeah.
And I'm having a tough time with it.
Well, I think it starts, when I'm privileged to sit in some of the command staff meetings, and you see the way he talks to the cadre of the of the sheriff's office, and how supportive he is, how appreciative he is. And as I said, we're close to approving a program that'll establish a baseline. So absolutely, he's 100%, as you would expect, on mental health. Yeah, and mental excellence.
Going back to that baseline, I see what you're saying there. Daniel, you've known Sheriff Labatt for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Know him well for a long time. I mean, listen, make no mistake, right? Fulton County is has been a hot topic, right, over time. But the job that he's, sometimes people inherit problems in life, and look, everybody has their own opinions. But what I do know to be true is who he is and what he's about, and it's nothing but greatness and wanting to move the needle forward in Fulton County. So
100%.
That's what, and I stand behind that. So it's. But this is tough stuff. I mean, this is not easy you see how many people and the budget and who's working. I mean, it's a lot of moving parts, that goes into this. So
yeah, and I want to underscore something you said. I mean, Sheriff Labatt, people just don't know. I mean, he's super hardworking. He's up early. He's up late. You can reach him anytime, and
he answers when I call. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he's really, really working hard, and so is the command staff, and so are the deputies.
It's impressive, because I'm a Fulton County resident. This stuff, like when you talk about this stuff, I want to know that that's the case.
It is,
and that's encouraging, because Fulton's a big.
It's a beast.
Big county.
It's a big county.
And where I live in Alpharetta may not have anything to do, or isn't anything like, or function like. South Fulton, you know what I mean? We may not have anything that overlaps, yet we are under the same jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's almost like three areas.
It totally is.
You have the north, you have the middle, and then you have the south.
Right. Yeah, so trying to balance all of that for Sheriff Labatt that's a monstrous job to begin with. And I know you're not here to talk about him necessarily, but that's a big part of what he does, is being able to balance all that. That way, all of those officers, they are the best them. They do have the best resources. They are the most well-trained. And that probably does involve you a little bit, especially the training part.
Yeah, no, I mean, my observation is the sheriff's great at building relationships, and that's what you need with the leadership in other departments throughout the county, whether it be APD or Alpharetta or Johns Creek or any of the other departments. And the leadership does get together. They do know each other. Because, man, when a crisis happens, when something bad happens, they need to know and trust each other and understand the capabilities. And you're right, I'm not here to talk about law enforcement tactics, but I just,
You can't help but see it, just the position you hold.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with our community overall. And let's not forget, we've got the entire world coming.
Oh, my gosh.
The equivalent of 8 Super Bowls with World Cup.
World Cup, yeah.
So,
Literally.
So
it's unreal.
Yeah, and Atlanta has a lot of convention business, a lot of inbound people. So
All-Star game?
Yep.
I mean, that's in a couple of weeks.
It's going to be wide open.
Completely wide open. I mean, it is going to be Yosemite Sam on Bugs Bunny wide open. I mean, seriously, Wile E. Coyote chasing the Roadrunner down. That's what it's going to look like around here all week long. I was just told, hey, you may not be able to come to work on Tuesday of the All-Star game. I was like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? They're like, you are not going to be able to get to your desk. We've got to find an alternative. Yeah, an alternate. Either you broadcast from your studio at home, which, okay, but that doesn't sound all that bad, or maybe it'll work out because I get here so early, I'm going to beat everybody here, and then it'll work out that way. But we're not sure. So to your point, just those huge events, national championships and NCAA playoffs and everything else that happens, and just the convention business, I would imagine real estate, being in commercial real estate.
Yeah.
I bet they do a few of those downtown.
Meetings, yeah,
and large ones, with like the biggest power players in probably the world.
Yeah, everybody's gripping and grinning.
Yeah, exactly. How you doing? Well, networking, man, grip and grin, absolutely. A little meet and greet action, dude. I understand it. I get it. Let's talk about the Less Crimes Act, because you brought that up a couple times, and then how people can support the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation. We'll get to that in a minute. Start with Less Crimes Act.
Yeah, so in 2023, the state legislature, and under the leadership of the governor, created some groundbreaking legislation called the Less Crimes Act. And what it says is that any citizen of the state of Georgia can send money that they were otherwise going to send to pay their state taxes instead to a qualified law enforcement foundation like the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation. And so to explain that a little bit more, you're married, so you and your wife, if you're going to pay your state taxes, could each send up to $5,000 to a qualified law enforcement foundation every year, and it doesn't cost you $1 because you were going to pay your state taxes. And the same is true for companies. Companies can send up to 75% of dollars they were going to send to the state to qualified law enforcement foundations. And now let me tell you what the legislature said we can do with that money. It's restricted. The first, as I mentioned a minute ago, is mental health, support for that.
Huge.
The second is for gear. So if the county needs something, the county should be funding. I always say they ought to buy the guns and the bullets and the vest. But if there's something special, maybe there's some technology having to do with AI that will improve law enforcement, that gets me interested.
Like a drone? I mean, I'm just pulling this out. I mean, it
could be a drone. Absolutely. I mean, the technology, as with everywhere, but certainly in law enforcement, is advancing quickly. And the third is bonuses. And so that's where we pull the dollars from. To write an award to a deputy or perhaps a commendation of bravery when they do good things. I'm a big fan of recognizing people when they do good things. That's what we need to. We need to hold up the individuals who are doing good work.
Absolutely. So not only do you get a ribbon or some sort of medal, but there's a little envelope that goes along with it.
And we work in concert with the sheriff and his leadership team. Because obviously they have to
approve it.
Tell us individuals that are worthy of the commendation, and then the board we will sit down and determine award amounts if that's included, and it is terrific to stand in front of that team. And the sheriff is funny because he will order deputies to attend the command staff meeting, and he doesn't tell them why. They're like, "Oh, why are we here?
Something big is coming."
Yeah,
and it might not always be good. There could be a big event. We're gonna have to work extra or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, human nature. You're worried about the bad outcome, but then when we stand up there and start to talk about what's going to happen, and there's going to be some commendations, you just see them relax, and then when they come up and you talk about them and what they've done, and the sheriff will talk about what the deputy did. That's incredible. Tears. It's such a great experience to see the best of human beings.
Talking to Ken Ashley, he's the chair of the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation. What you just explained, the story you just told, and I know you're a Georgia football fan.
Yep.
As am I. How about
Dogs.
them dogs? What you just described to me is the video I've seen 1,000 times on social media where the coach is standing in front of the entire football team.
Yeah.
And he's talking about something, and he's just going to town. And you can just tell the intensities in his voice. And then he singles out one player, and he tells him he's on scholarship. And then the room melts down.
Yeah.
Everybody's high-fiving. There's tears. Sometimes the parents are involved, and they walk out. And, of course, it's just big hugs all around. There is nothing more special than that. That's what makes sports great, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I love watching my team win. Of course, that's the end-all, be-all. But there's so much more to sports that maybe people don't see, don't think about. The effort that kid has been working since he was 8 or 10 years old, sometimes 6. The dedication of the parents getting them to practice, the dedication of the parents getting them in school, and promoting good grades, because you can't get on a scholarship if you don't have good grades. I mean, so I really liken it to that, because think about the dedication and the hours that those officers have put in training and doing things the right way, not having a misstep, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and all the extra effort that it took to get in that moment where you're able to deliver that. And here come the tears again.
Yeah, I'm glad you highlight that, because a lot of citizens tend to take it for granted that there are going to be law enforcement officers there. But you think about the sacrifice, as you were just highlighting, how hard it is to get qualified, whether you're post-certified and all the background stuff that you have to do, and how difficult it is to be a law enforcement officer today. We all know there's some pejoratives, there's some issues. And when you walk out in public, you got to hold yourself to a certain standard. And you're exactly right. There are a lot of rules. There are a lot of regulations that you got to follow.
Unwritten rules many times.
Sometimes unwritten. So it is a really tough job. And I would just ask your listeners, when you see someone in law enforcement doing something good, make sure they know, tell their supervisor. Let's support the men and women who are out there, because they're defending us every day.
I don't say this to pat myself on the back because I don't deserve it, but I say it because my son is always like, why do you always do that?
Yeah.
Well, especially, this is where I try to always do it. If I'm here at the Battery, if I'm walking in my car, if I see some of the Cobb police there, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that. Hey, man, I appreciate you. Thank you for what you're doing. And then on Sunday mornings at church when we're walking in, some of those guys are there just to make sure that everything's fine.
Yep.
And 99.9% of the time it is. In my experience so far, 100% of the time. But I know that that's not the case for everywhere in America. There's been, chaos and things that happen that people don't expect. But they're out there directing traffic. I mean, we go to Perimeter in Johns Creek, big church, lots of traffic, people coming in and out, you know what I mean? And so every morning, I go out of my way. I make sure I find those officers, and they're usually in the same spot. So it's not like I got to be Inspector Gadget or anything. I don't got to look for them or anything. They're there. They're very visible, and just say thank you for your service. And again, not to pat myself on the back because it's not what it's about, but to prove to my own son why it's important. Setting the example, making sure that he knows, hey, these people are going above and beyond. These people are here to make sure that your experience is the best that it possibly can be. And that goes for at church or at Ameris Bank Amphitheater or at Truist Park.
Well, Tug, that's terrific that you do that you model that behavior. And maybe if people are listening, if they could do what you are doing and demonstrate to their children that supporting law enforcement is good for everyone. So valuable. So thank you for doing that.
Just being able to, Daniel, you know it. Mm-hmm. Just having somebody say thank you is enough. Just a pat on the back occasionally. Is enough.
100%.
If you're sitting in the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A and you see an officer or a fire truck behind you, hey, man, let me get the people behind me, too. If I can I get those? It's not about tooting your own horn. It's not about waving, hey, it's about me. Yeah. Because it's not. That's the whole point. It's not about you.
Right.
It's about somebody else.
That's the reason. Yeah.
That's the reason you do it. And I know that your office and the people that work there at a Second Chance, that's their vibe. That's their mentality. I've been able to see it in person with everybody that works in the office that I've had the pleasure of meeting. They go out of their way to do those same things, and I know you do And that's the whole point. Again, you're setting the example, just like Ken was talking about.
Well, yeah, no, and that's the thing. And it's even in the places where no one is, right? So like Newton County is another county where we do business. Second Chance does business in Newton County Sheriff's Office, and we do a lot of stuff with their back to school. Now, you don't see it because it's not as large scale, right, as some of this stuff, but we've been involved with Newton County since the beginning, and they have a phenomenal program going on out there. But yeah, we're doing this across the state of Georgia. I mean,
and it doesn't matter the scale. I mean, to you, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter how big the county is or not.
We go in, and it doesn't. Right. Well, that's my point, right? If there's a place for us, and it makes sense for both parties, and we're not wasting each other's time and resources, then I'm all in. Always all in. Community first. So yeah.
Let's talk about that, Ken, and the fact that people can donate through the Less Crimes Act, or just making a donation altogether, and you can do that at fcsfoundation.org, fcsfoundation.org. What are some of the donations that people can make?
Yeah, well, I think you highlighted there are two buckets. One is restricted through the Less Crimes Act and tax advantaged, and it's a terrific program.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. And so please do that. Please take the time to, as you're thinking about paying your taxes this year, send part of that.
Because that's coming up.
That's coming up. And if there's questions about how to do that, you can go to our website, or you can reach out to me, and I can have folks. There's, just like everything, there's a little bit of paperwork, but it's not hard. And once you're set up, it's easier from there on out. And then the second, as you point out, Tug, is unrestricted. And what that allows us to do is to support other things the outside of what the law prescribes. So if there's someone who needs help on some of the situations we described earlier, then the board and I have more flexibility on the unrestricted. And by the way, I want to highlight Chris Aaronkeel, Vice Chair, and Steve Smith, who is our treasurer, serve on the executive committee. And there's a board of men and women who are leaders in Atlanta and in Fulton County who are involved in this effort. So I want to thank them specifically.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Because you're not doing it for accolades. You're definitely not doing it to get paid. This is something you do because you care about it.
That's right.
And the community should care about it. That's the most important reason, because these people represent you every day, and they have to do extraordinary work. I think about this a lot when I'm driving up 400 headed home, and I think about those officers. Nobody wants to. There's not an officer who's like, I can't wait to pull somebody over today. There's not one. There's not a bit of me that believes there's one officer that starts his day going, I can't wait to pull somebody over. But then think about it at 2 o'clock in the morning, when you have no idea what you're walking up on. You have no idea. I've always heard nothing good happens after midnight, and that's probably where that may have come from.
Until about 3:30 in the morning, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then leave everybody alone at that point.
3:30, we're fair game.
Yeah, that's right. No, leave those. Make sure you take care of those folks. If they go a little over the speed limit, it's probably because they're sleeping. They're not intentionally breaking the law.
They're not locked in yet.
I'll tell you what I think about is what happens if we dial 911 and no one comes.
Amen.
And when a citizen needs help, it's the worst day of their life. I mean, something really bad is going on, and there are people 24/7, 365 here to support us.
When we come back, I want to talk about seeing our law enforcement in a positive light, some of the programs that y'all do at the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation, and I know, Daniel, that y'all are really involved with at a Second Chance Bail Bonds and a Second Chance Monitoring. That is the discussion next as we continue on Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3, along with Daniel Matalon of a Second Chance Bail Bonds and Ken Ashley of Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation. I'm Tug Cowart on Extra 106.3. Welcome to Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3. Welcome back to Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3. My name is Tug Cowart, along with Daniel Matalon of a Second Chance Bail Bonds and a Second Chance Monitoring, along with Ken Ashley of Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation. A couple things I want to get into is seeing law enforcement in a positive light. This is such a great thing. And I don't know if y'all came up with it. I don't know who started it, but I love the concept. And it's between back to school and going to Six Flags, we can get into all that, but also shop with an officer, shop with a deputy.
Yeah, so Sheriff Labatt and his team have come up with these ideas, and the foundation is here to support. So the way Shop with the Sheriff works is if there's someone who is, perhaps in an underserved community, might not otherwise have a full holiday experience or Christmas experience, you can apply to the sheriff's office, and then get accepted. And on a designated day, you come with your parent or someone who's looking after you, and the kids are in a great mood. They're excited. It's the holiday season, and we will assign, or the sheriff will assign, a deputy, which is equipped to take the young person shopping along with their parents or their caregiver, and they get a $200 gift certificate, and it is so much fun. And Daniel's been there. In addition to the shopping experience, the deputies are dancing. They're having a great time. Everybody's in a good mood. There's food. There's some juice that you can drink, and it's really fun to see the smiles and see the good side of humanity.
No question about it. And Daniel, talking about seeing an officer in a positive light.
Well, I was going to say,
I can't think of anything more.
So it's like picture perfect, right? Because it's exactly what you want to see, the people in the community interacting with law enforcement in a very highly positive moment, which is great. So it's once again, no brainer.
But it doesn't always turn out that way with kids. Sometimes they see officers.
There's absolutely periods where they are fearful to talk to them.
And to your point, I think early in the show, Ken, they're there for a while, and I think a lot of that nonsense has fallen away, defund the police, and all that silliness that went on for so long. That was building in a whole generation of kids that, oh wait, everybody's told me, the news tells me the people, that the police are bad, and this hopefully can remedy that nonsense a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to provide context and reprogram, which is some of what we're doing in this conversation to help your listeners understand that law enforcement, they're people just like you and me. They're working hard. They're dedicating their career, and they're doing a tough job, as you said. I expect that law enforcement officers don't come on shift, hoping to pull someone over or to interdict. Now,
the last thing they want.
They're going to prevent crime.
Sure,
they're going to do their job.
They have to. Yeah, they have to.
And then the other thing, there's we haven't mentioned it yet, but there's a junior deputy academy.
Okay,
that people can apply to.
I like it.
And then when you finish, you can go to Six Flags. So that's a summer program. And then we've got the in addition to Shop with the Sheriff, Back to School. And so Back to School, if you Google it or go to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, you can find some of these programs. But what Back to School looks like is you get a backpack, you get school supplies, you get a full belly, and I like to say a full soul as well. And it's the same thing. The officers are down there. They brought their gear, so you can look at the SWAT truck if you want to,
cool.
and see all the neat stuff. But we can see that children and deputies are together, and we're on the same team.
Yeah, and it's very organic, feels very organic.
Yeah.
At least the communication, the interaction between kids and LEO, their interactions are just as organic, because I'm sure kids have 1,000 questions. I know I raised a kid. He's 21 now. He still calls me with questions. So I imagine that, Daniel, those questions
nonstop. Yeah.
I bet ones that officers never expected to come their way either. Because they don't know. Kids don't know. I don't know I'm not supposed to ask this question. And it's probably not even something that they're not supposed to ask, just something that they wouldn't have expected to be asked.
That's right.
I think that's the coolest. Tell me a little bit more about the Deputy Academy, because that's really cool. It's almost like a ride-along for an adult or something.
Yeah, so in the Deputy Academy, they expose the young people to what a deputy does every day, what the job is, and I think it's a 2-day-long program with Six Flags at the end.
So cool.
So you can see the gear. An officer can explain what his or her body gear looks like, what their job is. And you think about the job that the deputies do. I mean, they have to protect the jail. And as the sheriff often says, you don't think about the jail unless you're in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't want to.
Yeah,
quite
don't
frankly.
want to. But they explain what goes on there. And then the other jobs, for example, serving warrants. Someone has to serve warrants. And constitutionally, it's delegated to the sheriff's office.
Yeah. And Daniel, I know you probably have experienced that a few times with the Second Chance.
Fulton County is a tough place to serve warrants. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, right.
It's not for the faint-hearted. I can tell you that. So they have their hands full. So.
And we'll soon be announcing something exciting with some new technology to help deputies with serving of warrants. One of the issues, as you know, that they face is trying to determine if the subject is at the location. And so we've got some technology we'll announce here in the next week or so, a very exciting thing for Fulton County that will significantly upgrade their ability to serve warrants.
Goodness gracious. I feel like that's the ultimate cliffhanger there. Like, are we going to have our own, like, Terminator? You know, is it like the robot that walks in and does the job for you or something?
Yeah.
You know? I feel like it has to be, with all the technology that's going on in the world, not just law enforcement, but that's going, I mean, with robots and AI. I saw a robot playing soccer the other day. So, I mean, if they can do that, I have a feeling that they can do all kinds of things. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do, Ken, supporting Fulton County Sheriff's Office the way you do with the Fulton County Sheriff's Foundation. If you would like to make a donation or you would like to be a part and take advantage of the Less Crimes Act, fcsfoundation.org, fcsfoundation.org. Ken, is there anything that we left out that we need to get to?
Yeah, I would say if you're listening to this and you're interested in our mission, reach out to me. You can just Google me. I'm pretty easy to find. And if you're interested in board service, we're always looking to expand our board to qualified executives and leaders in the Fulton County area. But just get involved. And we really appreciate the donations. If you will just take the time to sign up for Less Crimes Act now, through your tax professional or someone on our team can help you, that would be very meaningful. And I want to thank you, Tug, for having me on today.
Oh, my gosh. Daniel.
And Daniel as well for highlighting our mission.
And when you make the donation, unlike when you're cutting a check for taxes, because I've done it, I don't like it. I'm not a fan. This is something you can actually feel good about. I mean, because you feel like
I was thrilled when I found out about this. I was like, I called the finance team and CFOs, CPAs, everybody. I said, listen,
here's what we're doing.
I said, if I find out that we didn't donate to all these places,
y'all fired.
It's going to be a problem. Because look, the money's going out. So
sure.
I mean, it's
at least you know.
Like, it's like, yes, is it a little bit of a task to get it signed? Yes, you got to go through that little step. But like Ken said, once you get there, you're good, and it's for a phenomenal cause.
Taxes frown.
Yes.
When you can take the money that you're already having to pay anyway and put it towards something that you feel good about, it at least makes you feel better about spending the money that you had to anyway.
That's correct.
FCSFoundation.org. Ken, thank you, man. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.
This is Back Your Blue. Daniel, I know you're off globetrotting again.
Knows, yeah.
We'll see. We'll see you. We'll hopefully see you soon.
TBD.
That's right. This is Extra 106.3.